From Amazon Web Services Worldwide Public Sector, please welcome Dave Levy.
There's a story written by the 19th century author Washington Irving. It's called Rip Van Winkle. Now, I've always been a fan of his work with stories like The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Now, in this story, Rip Van Winkle went up into the Catskill Mountains in New York, and he took a 20-year nap. Now, before his nap, there was a sign outside of the village that had a portrait, and it was a portrait of King George III. 20 years later, when Rip Van Winkle woke up, that sign had changed. It was a sign of George Washington, which leads me to my next 2 points. The first thing I want to do is welcome you to the 14th annual AWS Summit right here in our nation's capital. Some might debate me on this, but this is where George Washington laid the foundation for our government. It's the Philadelphians who might debate me on that. But it was right here in Washington, D.C. And second, I want to encourage you to embrace the technological revolution that's happening right now. AWS is leading through this technological revolution in this golden age of technology. And there are seismic shifts, a new era of breakthrough possibilities. And all of us here have a front row seat to this revolution. So my goal today, among getting through this presentation and other things, is to make sure you recognize the speed at which this revolution is happening, the magnitude of this transformation. We're all going to feel empowered. AWS is equipping you with the tools, the insights, and the partners to be at the forefront of this revolution. Now, I want to take a moment, amongst all the discussion, and extend a special thank you to our global sponsors who help us produce the Summit Series. Thank you. I want to acknowledge our Emerald, Platinum, and Gold sponsors for their valuable contributions, and our Silver, Bronze, and Exhibitor sponsors for their support. And I want to invite you over to the Expo Hall, where you can learn more about our sponsors and our partners, and you can also join us for tonight's networking reception. I think that opening video captures it perfectly. Gen AI is the opportunity of our generation. But if we're going to realize that opportunity, we need a strong foundation. And that foundation is cloud. This past year, customers worldwide invented new possibilities and new opportunities with generative AI. Let's take a look at a few of their stories.
The future state of fair trade is one of rich data, content, and storytelling. And generative AI in particular is going to help us get there. You can scan a QR code on the package and zoom right down to that farming family in Honduras or Ethiopia. Access to the stories, access to the impact, access to education and health and all of the changes that are happening at the village level around the world because you chose fair trade.
Over 60 countries around the world are impacted by landmines. SafePro Group decided to attack this solution with drones and artificial intelligence. We're currently operating in Ukraine, flying commercial off-the-shelf drones and uploading the imagery to the AWS cloud. Our proprietary machine learning and neural networks is based on computer vision technology. We're able to process that data at hyperscale and detect where those green, brown, different color mines are, providing actionable intelligence back to those humanitarian mine action organizations. Utilizing generative AI in services such as Amazon Bedrock, we're able to synthetically train our data sets and our models to look for mines in different environments without having to physically be there. We've greatly enhanced our capability to make the world a safer place.
The name of the game in home care is to keep people out of the hospital and keep them at home. We're experimenting with generative AI right now, and we are using Bedrock to be able to prototype intake to scheduling to billing. Our platform is also an electronic health record. 80% of the time, it was predicting that somebody was going to be hospitalized in the next 30 days, and indeed they ended up being hospitalized. Our goal really is to make sure that the technology is there to enable more and more people to age gracefully and with dignity at home.
Degos' mission is to significantly increase the incomes of 600 million smallholder farmers in Africa and beyond. And the training of such new methodology was incredibly difficult. Gen AI tools can really be leveraged, and of course with the help of Bedrock. Our advisor chatbot really boosted the growth and the speed of us teaching such methodologies to farmers. We managed to bring up the number of farmers by 200% increase.
Those were fantastic stories. And it's customers like those that drive us to have the fastest pace of innovation at AWS in areas like machine learning and Internet of Things and serverless. According to a recent study commissioned by AWS, our infrastructure is up to 4.1 times more efficient than on-premises. This impact initiative is open to new and existing public sector customers and partners. It's a 2-year initiative to help public sector organizations innovate in support of their critical missions, using our generative AI services and our infrastructure. Now, as part of this initiative, we're committing $50 million in cloud credits, in training, and in technical expertise across all of our generative AI projects. So I know many of you are excited to explore our generative AI impact initiative. But even if you're not ready to participate, AWS has built a comprehensive Gen AI stack. We see 3 big areas of the Gen AI stack, and each of those are a gigantic opportunity that we're investing in deeply. At the foundational layer are the capabilities for building your own large language models. This requires powerful compute to train the models and run these inferences. We've built our own custom silicon, like Trainium, our training chip, and Inferentia, our inference chip, which are much more price performant than alternatives. Now, in the middle layer of that stack, the services that allow you to use powerful foundation models and customize them with your own data, or even import custom data. And you can easily build high-quality generative AI applications. This is where Amazon Bedrock comes in. It's the easiest way to build generative AI applications on top of the broadest selection of first and third-party models, all through a single API. And at the top of that stack are the applications themselves. And at Amazon, we're building many of these, but we expect the vast majority will be built by third-party developers. The key is making it easy. Easy for you to build and scale Gen AI. There are all kinds of solutions and use cases out there. And we talked about George Washington and being here in our nation's capital. And some of our U.S. federal agencies are leading the charge with generative AI. One example is the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. The Center for Devices and Radiological Health receives over 2 million medical device reports annually. They use multiple AWS services and partner solutions to create solutions for them that use natural language processing, intelligent document processing, and to support their review processes. Many exciting examples happening right here in the U.S. federal government. Over in Europe, our customers told us that they want to adopt cloud and emerging technologies, but they face increasing regulatory scrutiny. So we listened, and we announced the AWS European Sovereign Cloud, a new independent cloud for Europe. And it's designed to help customers in public sector and highly regulated industries meet the stringent data residency and operational requirements they have. Gen AI will change the way we approach some of the world's biggest challenges, including those faced by our intelligence community. AWS proudly supports the defense and national security missions through a comprehensive set of secure portfolio cloud services. And security is our top priority. It's the foundation to how we support customers worldwide. And public sector customers trust AWS. They trust us to maintain the integrity of their most sensitive assets and their most sensitive missions. We prioritize governance while exploring and incorporating emerging technologies like generative AI. Here to discuss that with me is a very special guest, Lakshmi Raman, the CIA's Director of Artificial Intelligence Innovation. Please help me welcome Lakshmi to the stage.
It's good to see you. Thank you.
Lakshmi, thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm hoping we can make it as lively as the first 10 or 15 minutes we've had. We'll try.
I will do my
We'll
best.
try to do that. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. I know your time is limited. And the service that you and all of your colleagues at your agency provide, we thank you for that. And so let's jump right in. I'll get right down to it. How is the CIA using AI, and how do you deal with the risks of those emerging technologies?
Sure. So let me set the stage for you a little bit.
Sure.
Every day, the CIA is called upon to inform policymakers on a wide breadth of issues. And in order to derive those insights for our policymakers, we have to go through vast amounts of data and information. That means content triage is a huge part of what we have to do and what we need AI to help us to do. We've been on our AI journey for quite a while now at the CIA. We hired our first data scientists in 2012. So when you think about the types of activities that we need AI to do in order to help us with content triage, we're thinking about things in the human language technology space. Translation, transcription, all the types of processing that need to happen in order to help our analysts go through that data very quickly. Now, you all might be aware that CIA is very much a human organization, right? We are a human intelligence organization. Something that you all might not know is that the CIA is also the functional manager for open source collection for the IC. Imagine all of the news stories that come in every minute of every day from around the world. That is also the data that we are neck deep in and that we've got to leverage AI in order to help us to triage. In our open source space, we've also had a lot of success with generative AI. We have leveraged generative AI to help us classify and triage open source events, to help us search and discover and do levels of natural language querying with that data. There are other things, obviously, we use generative AI for. We were captured by the generative AI zeitgeist, just like the entire world was a couple of years back. But we really also think about it in terms of search and discovery assistance, writing assistance, ideation aids, helping us with brainstorming, helping us generate counter-arguments. So these are all of the things that we are thinking about at the agency and across the intelligence community to help us with. In addition to the actual pointy edge of the spear tools, right, we also need the foundational capabilities to help us run and deploy the models. We have catalogs for our models, as well as our training data sets. So it's really about us creating that entire ecosystem for us to be able to leverage this to advance our mission and national security. Like everything else, there's risks, right? We think about the risks quite a bit. And one of the risks we really think about are how will our users be able to use these technologies in a safe, secure, and trustworthy manner, right? So that's about making sure that they're able to look at the output and validate it for accuracy and being bias-free, right? We work very closely with our Office of our General Counsel, as well as our Office of Privacy and Civil Liberties, to think about those types of activities. We want to make sure that our users feel very comfortable with it so they understand that what they are seeing is AI-generated output, right? So these are all of the things we're thinking about as we are deploying these capabilities on behalf of our mission.
That's great to hear. And I know that you likely have troves and troves of data that you need to manage and search through. That's great to hear. I do want to pivot a little bit and talk about how the U.S.'s key adversaries are making a resource commitment to AI. And will that, in your view, have a transformative impact on the way they operate against the United States?
Right, so that's really great. We talked about one side of the coin, which is what's our opportunity space with respect to artificial intelligence. And now it's about the other side of the coin, right? How are we looking at our adversaries' plans, use, and intentions with respect to AI? And the first adversary or near-peer competitor that comes to mind is obviously the People's Republic of China. They are seeking to be an S&T superpower with respect to emerging technologies. They are looking at using that power for political gain, for economic gain, for military gain, and they're really taking a multifaceted approach at creating that advantage. They are looking at talent acquisition, intellectual property acquisition, investments, academic and scientific collaborations. And when we're talking about investments, we're talking about billions and billions of dollars of investment in emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence. And the ways they're using artificial intelligence are in areas like mass surveillance, smart city development, drug discovery, healthcare, intelligent weapons design, so really a broad spectrum of areas. And they're already leaders in areas like voice and image recognition, video analytics. So when we think about the resources that they're investing, it's not just dollars, right? It's also in people. There's open source reporting that indicates that even in 2022, PRC already had about 1 million workers dedicated to AI. And with respect to, smart cities, they're expanding globally, right? Unclassified research also indicates that there are over 300 instances of Chinese involvement in smart cities in over 100 countries. Wow. So, we are also thinking about other adversaries as well. There's Russia, who in 2023, it's had about 270,000 AI workers, and they are really looking at how are they going to leverage AI militarily, how are they going to increase their research prospects, right? And they're also increasing collaborations with the People's Republic of China. And Iran is looking to be a global leader in AI as well. So there's a lot for us to be thinking about with respect to how we are reacting to our adversaries' plans, use, and intentions with respect to emerging technology more generally and AI very specifically.
That's really great to hear that context about the scale of the investment these adversaries are making in newer technologies. What I heard is underpinning some of that, and is really my next question, is a talent. They're not just investing money and servers and wires. It's the people talent. I know we all, industry as well as government, have been challenged over the past few years with talent. How do you at the CIA go about recruiting top talent?
I'm so glad you asked me that. I'm incredibly passionate about talent at the CIA and the people that I work with. I've dedicated my career to being there. I've been there for 22 years, and I love being there. So I love to talk about the work we're doing to bring in the best and the brightest to where we work. We have a very broad mission at the CIA. We do a lot of things. We have, for those of you who are unaware, we have 5 directorates that do everything spanning from creating objective analysis to doing collection to creating very unique, exquisite technical tools, to spearheading our focus on the digital landscape, but also to doing administrative and logistical functions, right? So that's a lot of opportunities for people at the agency. In the AI space particularly, which I think I'm a little uniquely positioned to talk about.
A little bit.
Yeah. We have careers available that are called AI specialist, data scientist, data analyst, as well as underlying data careers like data engineer that we need in order to accelerate our AI advancement and AI maturity. We don't expect everybody to come on and tackle our toughest challenges on the first day, right? We have very active onboarding and training programs. If you're a data scientist, we have a data scientist onboarding program that new data scientists go through for a few months before they start. We even have something called analytic methodologist for people who are interested in adding rigor to our analysis via statistics or geospatial modeling or anything like that, and they go through very specific directorate of analysis career intelligence programs. So we don't expect people to know exactly what they're doing out of the gate, but we do expect a growth mindset. We want to have people who like to attack challenging problems. We want people with a can-do attitude. We want people who understand that we're going to be looking at problems that you might have never even thought of in other circumstances. And so while there are some jobs that require very specific technical skills, we are really looking for people with an approach and an attitude to just get it done. So there's a lot going on at the CIA, and I love working there, and we love getting great people to work there as well.
That's fantastic. Such an inspiring mission, and I'm seeing a few early career people out in the audience and milling around.
Check us out.
So it's a great opportunity to think about the future. Mm-hmm. One last question as we close. How do you see this generative AI revolution that we're going through? And I think it's here to stay, mm-hmm. even though we've been talking about it for a while. How do you see that changing, if at all, the CIA's mission?
I mean, I see it as another tool in our toolbox to help us drive the human-machine teaming that is now so necessary for us to do our jobs. We don't see AI or technology as anything that is going to replace our workforce, but we see it as something that is going to heavily augment our workforce and help us accelerate our velocity in completing tasks so that we can leverage our minds for higher order work, right? So we definitely see AI as something that can be, and generative AI particularly, as something that can be incorporated into workflows all across the agency to help us augment our own judgment and move through our workflows faster. I also want to point out that this is such a fast-moving space. Like, I don't know that there's a day that goes by where something doesn't change that, you know, impacts how we're thinking about something with respect to generative AI. Yeah. And so I feel like I gave you a very general answer, but the truth is there's so much changing and how we're incorporating it and thinking about it. We're still in some ways, there's in early days, and we're seeing this rapid advancement in this space. I'm just excited to see where we're going so that we can leverage it against our national security mission and our very, very high-level challenges.
I completely agree. It's very early days, and the possibilities are really endless
Right.
For improving the way we work and delivering on missions. I just want to thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing and the entire team is doing to keep all of us safe, to make all of our lives better around the world. It really is humbling, and our team appreciates you coming to visit with us and our customers and partners today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah. You just heard about the CIA's critical mission and how AWS is working backwards to support customers and what they want. And here's what we've heard from you. You want to leverage the power of generative AI, but you don't necessarily want to build custom applications from scratch. And you want easy integration of AI capabilities. And you want to integrate those capabilities into your existing workflows. That's where a service we have called Amazon Q comes in. Q is a generative AI assistant that helps you code, answer questions, generate content, solve problems, and even manage your own AWS resources. Q is generally available with specialized versions for developers or business users and data analysts. For example, the National Australia Bank, or NAB, one of the largest financial institutions down under, did I get the accent right on that one? Uses Q to seamlessly integrate generative algorithms and tools into its development process. NAB's developers accept 50% of Q's suggestions, and that number is increasing as they scale. So think of Q as an AWS expert that's always available anytime you need it. It's evolving fast, so I encourage you to start experimenting today. Now, experimentation is how breakthroughs happen. And so today, I am very excited to announce that we're providing a $4 million support package to the HALO Trust. The HALO Trust is the world's largest humanitarian landmine clearance organization. This will help HALO pilot artificial intelligence and machine learning in Ukraine to analyze drone and satellite imagery to help accelerate landmine clearance and save lives. Now, when it comes to protecting our nation around the world, the cloud continues to make an impact. In military operations, it's critical to have real-time information sharing, real-time analysis to support decision-making. The U.S. Department of Defense needs emerging capabilities across its enterprise, from the highest military command echelons all the way down to the tactical edge. The Army has leveraged AWS tools like Amazon Athena or Amazon EMR for enterprise resource planning. Young Bang is the U.S. Army's principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology. He leads the acceleration of the Army's digitalization initiatives, and he's a champion for responsible AI. AWS has had the privilege to work with Young and his team on many enterprise resource planning platforms. One example is Logistics Modernization Program, or LMP. LMP builds, sustains, and generates war-fighting capabilities. Young is here. He's here to tell us more about how the Army is developing an AI strategy So please help me welcome Young Bang to the stage.
All right, good morning. That wasn't very loud. Good morning, folks. All right. Dave, I appreciate the introduction. And one of the things that y'all are probably like, why is the Army talking about AI and cloud and Gen AI? And one of the things that I want to put in context is that when you think about the Army, we don't have huge aircraft carriers. We don't have huge planes. Our resources are our people. And our people really do the work of everyone else, but really one of the things that we do is really that our people and our soldiers generate tons of data, right? So in comparison, where the Air Force has huge bombers and the Navy has huge carriers, and you can count those probably in multiple hands, we have a huge amount of soldiers who generate huge amounts of data. And with that, the Army is the largest consumer of algorithms and AI, if you think about that in context. Not to say that the other services don't. They do. They have an important mission, but we are the biggest consumers. And because of that, the Army is really driving a lot of work in the artificial intelligence space. If you've been following the news, the Army and ASALT specifically released a 100-day plan for ASALT specifically. And the 100-day plan really helped codify or set the conditions of what we're doing for artificial intelligence in the acquisition community. And when you think about that, there's a lot of things that we put in there. There's 5 different lines of efforts, and we're looking at multiple outcomes of that. But again, the 100-day plan, and it's public, is really to set the conditions for the Army acquisition community at large on how we're going to actually get artificial intelligence at scale. But one of the things I should probably back up and say is, like, Dave introduced me, and my title is pretty big. A lot of y'all probably don't understand what that means. So in the Army, if you're actually buying, building, developing, or integrating something, whether it's computer systems or ERP systems, cyber systems, weapons platforms, missiles, all those type of things, it falls under one of our 12 PEOs or RICTO. And so all the new capabilities that we're actually working on now is under the purview of ASALT. And then what I always like to say, the ALT, or the Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology, well, my role is to put the T back into the ASALT, right? So my background's a technologist. I come from the commercial side, and it's really to supercharge the technology because all of our modernization efforts are underpinned by digital transformation. So as part of the 100-day plan that we have here, one of the things that we really wanted to focus on is what we call Defend AI. Right now, everyone's really driving artificial intelligence, and the Army understands y'all in industry are going to help us accelerate that. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to adopt third-party generated algorithms as fast as y'all are building it. Because we realize while we have tons of data, and we'll work with you on the data and access to data to do the inference and the retraining, but we're not going to develop algorithms better than y'all, right? So let's face it, we do certain things really well, but industry does technology better than us. And so we want to have a partnership. We're going to break down obstacles for us to adopt third-party generated algorithms, and that's the notion of this whole Defend AI. And what it is it's a AI layered defense framework, right? So when you think about that, it's really how do we look at something so we can actually adopt your third-party generated algorithms faster. And really it's about trust, but in the DoD, because of national security, we actually want to verify and trust. And so what we're talking about is, it's a high-level notion of how do we look at risk. Y'all make risk-based decisions every day, whether it's a P&L perspective, whether it's a technology perspective, whether it's whatever. But you have certain understandings of risks associated with your decisions, and you make decisions associated with that. So we're saying the same thing. We want to adopt the third-party algorithms, but we want to understand the risks associated with certain things, and then we will make informed decisions, or we will let algorithms work with some of our systems so that leaders can make more informed decisions. So at a high level, what am I talking about? Y'all are making incredible algorithms. We have tons of data sets. If we do everything in a secure, trusted environment, it makes sense, right? We're going to actually secure things as we're building. But in the scenarios of that third-party generated algorithms that y'all are making, we want to actually verify and trust what you're giving us so we can actually go through and put it into our systems. And so what we're talking about is on the high side of this upside-down triangle is like low-risk systems. So if it's a closed system or maybe experimentation or sandbox, we'll go through lower levels of risk identification and controls. We'll ask y'all to help us understand some of those and put some controls in place. But if it's a little bit more complex, maybe it's a business system, maybe it's something else, well, we'll go through some more risk identification and also have some more controls in place. And then if it's for safety critical systems or airworthiness, helicopters that fly, those type of things, we'll have a certain level of more risk that we need to identify. Now, this is actually where we need industry's help. This is just a framework, and the notion is that we do not want to make things slow, right? Again, we want to adopt third-party generated algorithms. This is an attempt to overcome some of those obstacles. So what we're going to do is put this out as an RFI to the industry. In those blocks, they're notional right now. We want you to identify risks, right? Data poisoning, inversion control, Trojans, all of those type of things. And we want you to identify certain controls, and we'll work with you and identify some controls, but we want you to come back and say, here's some processes and tools that we have that can help you. The intent is to automate all this so we can go faster, work with you all to adopt the third-party generated algorithms. So I haven't asked for you. A lot of people are coming up here and talking about all the great things. This is, again, the Army's way of saying, hey, we need your help. We're trying to overcome the things that are going to prevent us from adopting third-party generated algorithms. We're doing that now. We're asking also for your help to help us with this so we can automate this and make this an easier process so then we can actually get to where we want to be. So this is one of the things that was in the 100-day plan. As soon as we get done with this, we're announcing a 500-day plan to operationalize what we did from the 100 days. Again, 100-day was the set conditions. 500-day plan will be to operationalize everything that we're doing. Defend AI is one of those things, but in the 500-day plan, we also are going to work on something we're calling Break AI, hashtag Break AI. And we're going to also do the same thing, ask industry to help us with that. So again, I appreciate everyone's attendance here today. Reach out to Dave. They're doing amazing work with the Army and DoD. Reach out to the Army if you specifically have ideas, suggestions, tools, and processes on helping us adopt third-party generated algorithms. Thank you.
Thanks, Young. And thanks for your leadership behind the Army's approach to modernization and responsible AI. It's a great example for all of us. And next year, I think I need to up my sneaker game based on what I saw from Young today. So at Amazon, we're convinced that responsibility drives trust, and trust drives adoption, and adoption drives innovation. AWS follows 8 core dimensions when developing and using AI: controllability, privacy and security, safety, fairness, veracity and robustness, explainability, transparency, and governance. These are the key building blocks for creating a safe and innovation-friendly environment. That's why we built guardrails for Amazon Bedrock. Guardrails which will help you implement safeguards for your Gen AI applications, customized to your requirements and your AI policies. In our Amazon family of Titan models, our foundation models, which are available within Bedrock, they support the responsible use of AI. Those foundation models are built with responsible AI in mind by detecting and removing harmful content, rejecting inappropriate user inputs, and filtering model outputs. Another critical part of building Gen AI applications is data. It's really your differentiator. And to make the most of it, your data needs to be up to date. It needs to be accurate. It needs to be discoverable and available no matter where it is. So the first step is to store your data in the cloud. What we've heard from customers is they want choice. Choice when it comes to their generative AI models and applications. They want flexibility to choose from model types, sizes, and providers to best fit their specific use cases. Part of the appeal of Bedrock is that it provides just that, access to a vast selection of models, such as the just-released Claude 3.5 Sonnet. And today, we're announcing with Anthropic the availability of Claude 3 Sonnet and Claude 3 Haiku AI models in the AWS Marketplace for the U.S. intelligence community. This expands access to national security customers and offers them a selection among speed, performance, and price. And I want to switch gears for a minute. And one of the industries poised to leverage generative AI with data and drive improved outcomes is healthcare. It impacts all of our lives. So I am extremely excited to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Adam Resnick. He's the director for the Center of Data-Driven Discovery in Biomedicine at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, or CHOP. Dr. Resnick is here to tell us how his team uses the power of the cloud to enable precision medicine in pediatric healthcare. Please help me welcome Dr. Resnick to the stage.
So I'm thrilled to be here today on behalf of CHOP, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, but also the more than 100 other institutions and partners, more than several thousands of patients and families who have come together to contribute to a common vision that I'd like to share with you today. Many of us will experience cancer in one form or another in our lifetime, either in friends or families as we age. Fortunately, only a few of us will experience cancer in the context of childhood. Childhood cancer is considered a rare disease context, but unfortunately, for far too many, it is a reality of their life. As a result, brain tumors are actually the leading cause of disease-related death in children, with more than 4,000 children diagnosed yearly in the United States, and even more across the globe. This context of a rare disease setting that is so pervasive and still is challenging on behalf of patients and their families has always created new opportunities to complement those challenges in creative and innovative ways. As a result, we've made progress over the years, but still today, most patients who are diagnosed with a pediatric brain tumor end up doing so in the context of a rare disease setting which has no off-the-shelf therapeutic intervention, meaning that there isn't a solution that a clinician or a doctor can say, I know you have this and I can give you this and it'll be okay. That context for families and patients creates a dynamic that is completely different than almost any other kind of healthcare setting. It challenges the modalities and the use of data, how it's used, what patients and their families are willing to do with that data, and how it gets empowered. And in many ways that we were surprised when we first embarked on that effort, it challenges the way healthcare itself functions. This is David. David was diagnosed with one type of brain tumor called glioblastoma. At the time, he was a young teen, curious, engaged, caring, inherently committed to working and partnering with others. When David was diagnosed with glioblastoma, a fatal disease, he and his family committed to participating in trials, in sharing their data, and in trying to change the status quo for healthcare. In doing so, they came to us at CHOP and engaged and asked and mandated that we partner with them on behalf of changing that landscape. David's mother is here in the audience, Amanda, and she essentially intentionally asked, how do we do this better? How do we connect across all the Davids? How do we empower data in new and empowered ways? She and many others recognize that no single institution, no single investigator, no single clinician can know that answer. And at CHOP, we began to partner with patients and their families to establish a network that initially began with 4 institutions and today spans more than 35 institutions that are committed on behalf of patients and with patients to share and empower data universally. In doing so, we launched in 2016 a Brain Tumor Atlas initiative, and was the very first cloud-enabled data sets for pediatric cancer at the time. That initiative, 2 years later, got a huge boost from another patient family. This is Gabriella Miller. Gabriella, in ways that only a 10-year-old can probably do, challenged Congress to stop talking and start doing in ways that laid a foundation for the Gabriella Miller Kids First initiative. This initiative took what we had built for pediatric brain tumors across these 35 institutions and scaled it 100x. So now this initiative spanned not just pediatric brain tumors, but all cancers and rare disease context. This essentially led to dramatic expansion of cloud-enabled data sets that went from an initial $1.5 million petabyte to 10 petabytes that now expanded across the globe and is continuing to grow. That rapid scaling of data that went from only a few hundred patients to more than 5,000 participants affected by brain tumors is paired now with other data sets across the disease landscape with more than 26 billion occurrences or points of data to interrogate and more than 250 million genomic variants that can inform the understanding of the biology of cancer in these children. In part, this is because precision medicine is paramount in the pediatric context. We need to develop drugs that target the tumor, not the patient, right? You have rapidly dividing cells in the tumor, but the children themselves are rapidly dividing beings. So we have to drive precision medicine approaches that are data-driven and can be empowered. Historically, that's been a challenge in the rare disease context in ways that created barriers for pharma to even engage those efforts. We're thrilled to announce that over this past year, Day One, AstraZeneca, and others along the way are now partnering with this new data-driven architecture to deploy new clinical trials in ways that change how clinical trials can be run and affect the lives of children. Proof that this type of approach, where you empower patients' data's connectivity, where you can actually partner with their patients and families to empower their data in ways that typically are prohibited or challenged in the healthcare context, proof that can change the way we actually see cancer in children in ways that was unexpected, even happened in the context of David and Gabriella. Despite the fact that they were diagnosed with 2 different diseases, glioblastoma and DIPG, or diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, despite the fact that they were diagnosed only a year apart, it turns out that through this multimodal data enablement in the cloud, we can actually now understand they actually have the same disease. They actually have the same mutation. And it's only through that multimodal integration and cloud-enabled resources that link data sets across patients, across communities in as rapid a way as possible that we can drive that innovation. That foundational enablement of data in the cloud historically occurred as time-bound data sets. For us, we've been extremely excited to advance this to the use of Amazon Health Lake and shifting into a mode of real-time data flows from hospital system electronic health records in ways that now enable discovery in a dramatically new way. This is now coupled with what you've heard a lot about at this conference, the capacity to empower this large-scale data sets in real time on behalf of driving new interpretation and use of that data by our community, not just on behalf of discovery, but on behalf of care. And for us, that's the real goal, is to take these large-scale resources, but pair them with the streams of data on behalf of individual patients that can drive data, analytics, visualization, insight, and discovery. That should happen for every patient diagnosed with a brain tumor, and we're delighted to announce that in collaboration with AWS, we'll drive a new initiative called DAVID, as Amanda, David's mom, has approved. In true alignment with David and Amanda's vision, David will be a generative AI-empowered navigator that can drive real-time questions and answers on behalf of clinicians, researchers. It'll allow patients and their clinicians to ask the question, which trial can I enroll at this point in time? It still surprises me that very few clinicians can answer the following question. Show me all other patients in my institutions that had this disease with this mutation. What treatments did they get? What were their outcomes? Even that simple question in real time is a barrier to entry. David will take the first step towards helping to solve that. Let me end. Oh, yeah, please. Let me end by just saying this, that I've spoken about pediatric cancer or the rare disease context, but it turns out that the space of innovation we're harnessing is on behalf of what is much more generalizable. It turns out that being rare is not so rare. We're all individually different. We're all going to need to benefit from precision medicine approaches. For us, we seek to partner, collaborate, and innovate in this context in ways that's aligned with our community, in ways that's aligned with Amanda, Ellen, and the other families who are mandating data empowerment on behalf of real-time change. So thanks so much for your attention, and thanks so much for AWS and our partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Resnick, for the transformational work you're doing in pediatric research. We're so inspired at AWS by your mission that today we are launching a new award category for the AWS Imagine Grant, the Children's Health Innovation Award, a $7 million strategic grant. This new grant is available by invitation for organizations in the global public health community. We're also making a $3 million philanthropic commitment to empower nonprofit institutions to harness the power of the cloud to advance pediatric and children's causes. We will be making $1 million donations to Children's National Hospital right here in Washington, D.C., the Children's Brain Tumor Network, and Nationwide Children's Hospital. I can't wait to see the innovations that come from these investments. Let's talk about education for a moment. Education played a big role in my life. Access to early computer labs in my high school, albeit it was a long time ago, with ancient programming languages, really gave me an advantage. I was fortunate. I was fortunate that my school had the ability to afford a computer lab, and I could go in and explore. At Amazon, we believe it's really important to make sure that anyone with a desire to learn can access this next generation technology. Education and training will help make Gen AI accessible for everyone. That's why AWS recently announced AI Ready, a new commitment to provide free AI skills training for 2 million people globally by 2025. It's also why AWS is offering free training to another 29 million people globally by 2025. With more than 21 million already benefiting, we offer 100 learning resources on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and Gen AI through our AWS Skill Builder and AWS Educate programs. I hope you're as inspired as I am about the transformative potential of generative AI. This revolution is unfolding right before our eyes. And we're committed to putting the power of Gen AI in your hands. It can help you reimagine and strengthen your mission. The key is having the right foundation in place. That's why AWS offers the world's most comprehensive and secure cloud, from the bottom-up capabilities to the building of your own models to the middle layer services that make it easy to leverage existing AI, to the top-tier applications that will redefine entire industries. But this is just the beginning. The pace of innovation in Gen AI is staggering, and we're keeping at the forefront. We launched more than 320 new AI and ML capabilities into general availability in 2023. This is a remarkable pace of change, a pace that we're committed to maintaining. You know, as I think back to our Rip Van Winkle story, the most compelling part isn't that he slept for 20 years. It's that he slept through the entire revolution. And when he woke up, the world was completely transformed. The familiar had become unfamiliar, and the old had given way to the new. We are embracing and leading this revolution. At AWS, we believe the public sector should be at the forefront of this revolution because your missions are too important and your impact is too profound. So as you leave here today, I want you to feel empowered. Empowered to harness generative AI and put it to work for your most ambitious goals. Empowered to be the pioneers, the trailblazers, and the visionaries who will redefine the future of this technology. The revolution is here, right here in this room with all of us. And the future is now. And AWS is committed to being your partner every step of the way. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the AWS Summit.